Welcome back everyone. So in this video I would like to talk about the drawing exercise that has changed my art for the better. Now before I do that, I think it makes more sense that I go through these thumbnails, break them down, explain what I was doing, and then relate it to this one, to the main subject that I would like to discuss, which is, what is that one thing that changed my art for the better, really. So what you see before you are thumbnails that I'm generating. So in this video, I'm generating a total of 10. The idea was to basically think about, for me, I'm in love with video games. I grew
Game over, man.
Most people in the world can relate to that, so that's one of my biggest inspirations. So I thought to myself, hey, why don't I come up with some shots, environment shots for Diablo 4? However, when I did this video, when I actually recorded myself sketching these thumbnails, this was done prior to Diablo 4's release. So I was imagining, hey, what kind of levels would I like to see inside Diablo 4? So that was the idea. That was my motivation factor. Now, where am I going with this? What you're seeing is just a thumbnail. I put down the perspective line. I thought about basic geometric shapes, composition. I put a character facing some kind of a mini boss surrounded by statues or little minions that, this character has to face. So that's pretty much the first piece of thumbnail that I worked on. And here I'm just adding some details, adding some lighting, and I am starting the second one. So I'll just jump straight into it. So what is it about, what is this one thing that changed my art for the better? And it's honestly learning to slow down. Boring. And actually understand every step of what you're working on. So for me, I struggled with doing thumbnails. Well, I struggle with many things as an artist. I'm just someone that's trying to learn how to draw, really. So I was taught to make sure thumbnails are done quickly, that you wouldn't spend too much time on them, and just basically go really fast, get the idea down, and that's it, move on. And then take a thumbnail that you sketched and then later on worry about turning it into an actual picture making, into an actual design. But I found I always would just make a mess out of it. My perspective was all over the place, my composition was all over the place, it wouldn't make sense. I had no clue what I was doing. I couldn't stand looking at my thumbnails. I thought to myself, they were just worthless. And because of that, I never really used my thumbnails and I never actually developed my skills in that sense. So with these drawings, I decided I'm going to slow down and spend as much time as it's necessary to actually get through these thumbnails properly, to actually develop them into, well, I went so far as to turning them into basically mini illustrations, as you can see. You don't have to go that far, but I did that for the sake of actually building my understanding. I wanted to be able to capture the perspective properly. I wanted to be able to capture the composition, the major foreground, midground, and background shots, shapes properly. And then I wanted to tell a story, add some characters and elements. And then finally, I wanted to decide on how I was going to light up this place, how it was going to be lit. Is there going to be natural lighting? Is there going to be artificial lighting? Is there going to be a secondary light source? How do I want to guide the viewer's attention? What story do I want to tell? And that only happened because I forced myself to slow down. And I remember when I was working on these, I think I was spending up to 2 hours per thumbnail. Like this video is sped up big time. I don't regret doing that because once again, it forced me to go really deep and start actually digesting all the concepts that I've learned, but never really applied it deep enough for it to sink into my mind, basically become second nature. Now, I wouldn't do this all the time. Of course, I want to be able to also treat thumbnails like thumbnails. I want to be able to actually speed up and pump as many of them as possible, capture the best possible shots, best possible angles, storytelling, lighting, all of that at once. However, personally, I have found when I force myself to do exercises where I slow down, I mean super slow, super painful and boring, that's what I'm really learning. So that's my advice to you, because it's something that has worked for me, is that if I don't understand something, I force myself to slow down, even if it's just doing thumbnails. And because I find when you slow down, when you take your time, when you actually put in the hours and create pictures like these that you could be proud of, like I'm actually proud of these. Usually I don't like my own art. I want to get rid of it. I want to throw it away, or I would put it on my wall temporarily just for the sake of, to tell myself, remind myself, hey, I did something. Congrats, keep moving forward, keep doing this, keep going. Just something to motivate myself, not so much that I'm proud of what I've done, but with these, I'm actually proud of them. I have them on my wall, and I enjoy staring at it. I enjoy looking at them, and it's a reminder, hey, I did this, and now I can do better. Now I can push a little bit more and increase my skills slightly more. And the only way I was able to do that is by what I'm telling you, is that, you know, that one thing that really changed my art for the better was learning to slow down. That is a secret in its own. That is a special skill in its own, is that you can learn all the tricks, all the fundamentals in the world, and it won't mean all that much if you don't actually build up the patience to slow down and break things down in stages and digest every single stage. So, you know, just plotting out your perspective, you should really care about that. You should take the time to think about, instead of, oh, I'm just gonna put some shapes down and I'll worry about all this later. But, you know, like for instance, let's take this one for example. I drew the horizon line. I put the It's done on a 2-point vanishing point. The first point you can see, which is to my right hand, and the left one you cannot see, which is way off the page. So I imagined where it's coming from, and I put some vertical lines. In just about every vertical line, I try to turn it into a 3-point perspective. But what matters is that to the degree of my understanding of how to plot perspective lines, I actually took care of plotting them out as accurately as possible. And then you saw me put some shapes down, and once again, to the best of my ability, I would put shapes down, and then I would think about shading and lighting, adding characters, adding props, elements, and then tell a story. And you saw the kneaded eraser, which I use that often. Basically, I've heard it best this way. Your eraser is like white paint. So when you're painting with, let's say, black paint, you would use white paint to contrast that. So since I love working with pencil, so the black paint equals the pencil, graphite, and the eraser equals white paint. So it's like push, pull, add, take away, and you start actually capturing light. So you could see that those two light sources, so I guess they're just torches by the door. They actually feel like the area is lit by some kind of a light source. So I'm on the 6th thumbnail, same idea. I put in my 16:9 looking frame. I plot my perspective lines. I start thinking about my shot. Is this an interior shot? Okay, so let's plot out some kind of geometric shapes. Obviously, I'm going for video game style looking environments. I'm thinking about perspective. I'm thinking about shapes that resemble castles, or it's something to do with medieval structure, or it could be Arabian. So whatever you're attracted to, whatever you're inspired by, that's really what you're naturally gonna gravitate towards. Now, as far as, I'll talk about this quickly. I am using reference, so I had a whole bunch of reference opened up. Now, the way I would use reference is that I would look up real world environments, objects, props, locations that I wanted to be inspired by, but they're not actually. I never want to find a shot where I just want to look at it and say that's what I want to draw, because that's not designing. All I'm doing is basically copying what somebody else created. Instead, I want to get inspiration. I still want to force myself to come up with geometric shapes, come up with good composition, come up with good lighting, come up with good storytelling, which all happens on the spot. And the reason it happens on the spot, once again, it's because I force myself to slow down, and digest every single stage. Of course, it's not always going to work out. Your thumbnails might not look like mine, or they might look better than mine. I don't know. It really depends where you are as an artist, at what stage you're at. Or maybe you're really good at drawing characters and you've been doing it for many years, but you're terrible at environments. Well, then it's gonna look horrible at first, and that's normal. But I promise you, even if you have no clue what you're doing, if you actually just adopt this mindset like I have, which is, like I've mentioned, that one thing that changed my art, and that is to just slow down. And I know when you slow down, it's not exciting. So another tip I could give is find ways to make these moments more enjoyable. So for me, as I think about, I try to find good music that I enjoy listening to, or I find theme related music. So for instance, if I'm drawing environments for video games that I am inspired by, I will look up music based on those games, or I would listen to medieval, soundtracks, or whatever puts you in the mood, basically, to be creative. Maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's gameplay in the background. Somebody is playing some video game and you're listening to the commentary. Basically, put yourself in an environment where you're going to be comfortable, so there's less friction and less resistance and less urges to just stop doing this and get up and call it a day, or just convince yourself that you've done enough, you deserve a long break. But the truth is, like, you're feeling the friction, so you don't want to keep going. So that's why I'm telling you, it's better to make sure, if you like music, so it's find music that basically puts you in the mood. If you're into coffee like I am, I like to have a cup of coffee sitting next to me. Even if I'm not drinking all that much, I just like it there, sip on it once in a while, or whatever. Just, my point is, like, you gotta find things that make you comfortable so that you can handle being patient longer. You are able to sit down and be comfortable, and well, the faster you're going to develop your skills. So it doesn't have to be art, it could be anything, really. I mean, these things are general principles that apply to anything. So if you're building a skill outside of being an artist, it's the same thing. I would sit down and read books that are not so easy to read. Studying math or physics, it's the same concept, really. It's slow down, break things down, digest them piece by piece. I know it doesn't feel good when you have to actually slow down to the point where you feel kind of stupid about it. Like, man, why am I spending so much time on something that shouldn't take this much time? But the thing is, like, if you're comparing yourself to other people that can do this really fast, it's because they've already developed those skills. I mean, I've heard it like this. So if someone can come up with a design super quickly and they're really good at it, well, you weren't there when they were spending 40-50 hours on a design and they were actually developing their skills, and it got nowhere, basically. I'm just paraphrasing what I remember hearing a long time ago from someone. I mean, that's really it. I mean, there's not that exciting to talk about, because it's so obvious, yet, I mean, it's so simple, but at the same time, it's quite difficult to digest and apply. Like, it's easy to say, hey, just slow down and be patient, but I'm telling you, that's really it, is that if I didn't slow down, there's no way I would have ever generated thumbnails at this level. They're pretty much mini illustrations at this point, and I'm proud of them. Now, when I do thumbnails, I don't spend that much time on them. However, I'm still able to capture enough that the shot makes sense so that I could actually take it to the next stage. And that only happened is because I forced myself to sit down and do these painful exercises, which is give myself a theme. I wanted to create video game environments and I wanted to do it traditionally. You could work digitally if you want, that's up to you, but I find the most learning I've ever gained is from working on paper, because there is no undo. I can't take any shortcuts. I don't want to use a ruler. I want everything to be freehand, so that I'm forced to think about what I'm doing, because I can't just scribble until something makes sense. If I do that, then I'm gonna make a mess and I can't really erase all that much, and then I am gonna have to restart. So that's another thing that I like to work with, is that when I do it on paper, forced to learn more, where I'm naturally going to get better. And this goes back to what I've been discussing, which is to slow way down. So in this shot, I'm just gonna use this shot as an example. I mean, well, any shot really you could look at that I've done so far. I didn't know what I was doing for the most part. Honestly, what I would do is I would think about, okay, 16:9 rectangular frame, aspect ratio, basically just draw the frame first, like, okay, what kind of shot do I want? Basically 16:9, which is what you see on, in video games and movies. And then I would think about, okay, where do you want to place the horizon line? We're like, okay, well, let's go high, let's go low, or let's go really high, or let's go really low. And then I would plot out some vanishing points, and then I would think about some shapes, just generate some shapes, and then start trying to make sense out of those shapes. That's literally how I came up with these shots. It's not that I had a clear idea in my head. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes like, ooh, I know exactly what to do. But most of the time, it's not like that. Most of the time, I literally have to plot out everything. I have to think about putting some shapes down, lines down, think about small, medium, large shapes that would read together. And then slowly, basically, I'm chipping away at the drawing until I'm like, oh, I know exactly what to do. I know exactly how to take this shot and turn it into some kind of interior shot that would tell a cool story. And if this was a video game, how a character would pass through here and do XYZ. But once again, I'm gonna repeat this over and over, because I find when I hear something that's very, very valuable over and over, it starts to stick. And the lesson in this video is to honestly learn to slow down. I know we live in a world where it's all about fast. I need it now. It has to make sense now. That can work for some things. Like if I want to quickly summarize a video or my emails, or quickly I want to see a short version of something, because that's all I need right now, fine. However, when you're learning a skill, whether you want to be an artist or an electrician, edit videos, whatever it is, play some kind of an instrument, you can go learn the fundamentals. I mean, the internet is your gateway to basically learn anything you want. However, the learning's not gonna mean much if you don't apply this one thing that I keep reminding you and myself, which is learning to slow down and learning to enjoy the process. And the way you enjoy the process is you try to create the right environment for yourself. Good lighting, cup of coffee, tea, water, good music, and enjoy every single moment. Slow down, digest what you're doing, try to make sense out of your picture making. Honestly, it's gonna serve you big time. And this skill is going to pour into other areas of your life, because the saying is true, how you do anything is how you do everything. So that's my advice to you and to myself. And it's not like once you do it, you're good. It's something you're gonna have to remind yourself and consciously work on, because your brain naturally wants to take the least resistant path in life. So it's like if I gave you a whole bunch of vegetables or a cake, well, your brain wants the cake because it's gonna taste better. It's gonna give you the fast, quick calorie rush, energy rush, I should say. I'm telling you, take your vegetables basically, because it's good for you. Slow down. And if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I would really appreciate it if you could hit that like button, drop your comments, let me know what you thought about this video. And if you want to see more content like the stuff that I've been posting, definitely subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.